Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. We start with the chapter, this is the funeral rulings, part number 3, and we go ahead to the chapter title, which is what is not allowed for the relatives of the deceased to do. For verily, the Prophet ﷺ, he had made a number of things which are not to be allowed to be said or done by those people who are relatives to the deceased once the person dies. Because naturally, when the person dies, there will be something which is not normally taking place when he, for example, gets ill, or what, for example, something happened to him. But when he dies, people will react in a way which will not be approved by the Sharia. First thing, and one of the important things, niyaha. Niyaha means wailing. And this is something extra crying. It's not the normal crying. It is wailing with a sound. Okay, this is what the the women at the Jahiliyyah used to do. They used to wail on their, and they would cry with a loud. Sometimes it's like an act, basically. So whenever there is somebody who dies, they will put this. So we need to know this wailing, that is to be haram. Let's just see some of those hadith regarding this issue. Number 1, hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Arba'un fi ummati min al-jahiliyyah." 4 acts are regarded to be from the acts of the Jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah means those people who lived in the ignorance time, kufr time. They will not abandon them. That means always with them. Number 1, al-fakhru fil ahsab, to boast about your lineage. I come from such and such tribe and such family. وَالطَّعْنُ fil ansab, and also defaming the lineage of someone. So if they hate somebody, they used to write poetry against that. You come from for example, a fornicating family. So they would say that you are not the son of so and so. You're the son of, for example, wedlock or a legitimate relationship. The third one was istisqa'u bin nujum, seeking rain by the stars, and this is shirk. قال والنيح, and also the wailing. Now he had emphasized the wailing by saying an-naihatu, the one who is wailing, women, because normally the ones who wail are the women. The men would not do such a thing. Very rare. It's always the women. And they got this high pitch in their sound. So the wailing women, he said, the Prophet ﷺ, because normally it is the case the women, but it is men and women, but normally it is the case the women. The wailing woman, if she does not repent before her death, on the day of resurrection, she will be to be erected and to be standing before the Almighty Azza wa Jal. And she will be punished in a way that is undescribable. She said, "Alayha sirbalun min qatiran." She had the clothes of qatiran. Qatiran is the tar. And the other one, it is wadir'un jarib, or jarab. And that is also the garment of scabies. So she's got clothes and garment, which is made of tar and also made of scabies, something which is the skin, disease. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he said, 2 things in my ummah, they are to be kufr. So they are kufr, disbelief. But we're not saying the wailing person is a disbeliever. And that is at-ta'nu fi nasab, to defame the lineage of someone, and also to wail onto the deceased. When Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's son Ibrahim had died, Usama ibn Zayd, he sort of shouted, screamed in a wailing way. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "This is not from me. This is not to champion the haqq. For verily, the heart will grieve in sorrow, and the eye will shed the tears. And we don't say except something that would not, or something that would please Allah. We will not say something that would make Allah angry with us." Also, Atiyah, radiallahu anha, she said, the Prophet ﷺ, when he took the pledge from us onto Islam, she said that we should not be wailing. So in that pledge, for the women specifically, that they should not wail, and that the woman, and then other things and other issues. But the most important, that we should not wail. He said none of them had fulfilled this pledge except for 5, to show you that most of them will wail. And then she mentioned Sulaym and Al-Ala ibn Sabara ibn Abi Sawara, and Imra'atu, the wife of Mu'adh, and the daughter of Sabrah, and the wife of Mu'adh. So basically those are the women who had been basically the ones who had stayed close to that pledge, because some of them, they just forget about it. Anas radiallahu anhu also, he had said that Umar al-Khattab, when he was stabbed, Hafsa, his daughter, she had wailed, she screamed. So he said to her, Ya Hafsa, oh Hafsa, for verily, didn't you hear the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the one who does something like this, means wailing, he will be punished. He will have a punishment. And also Suhaib, he said as well, oh my brother, Umar, he said, oh Suhaib, verily the one who does so, he will be punished. For verily, the deceased, the person who dies, he will be punished by some of the cry, the wailing of his family upon him. And that's a very mighty hadith here. إِنَّ الْمَيِّتَ يُعَذَّبُ بِبُكَاءِ أَهْلِهِ عَلَيْهِ. Verily, the person who is dead, he will be punished while he's dead because of the wailing of his family upon him. And another hadith, same issue regarding that one as well. So how can we synchronize between this hadith and the ayah which says وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةُ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى? And Allah, he said in Surah Al-An'am, in Surah Al-Isra, and that is, a person will not burden the sin of another person. A person will not take the burden of the sin of another person. If I did something wrong, you will not take the burden of that sin. So how come that if somebody cries upon me while I'm dead, why should I be punished with that? I mean, you cry and you did the wailing, and it's not my fault. So how can we synchronize between the two ayah? The scholars have more than one approach to it. The closest one, which is what the Jumhur, most of the scholars had said, that this is based upon that the person, if he knows from his family that they will do such an act, and yet he did not admonish them or put that clearly in his will, that he has nothing to do with these people who wail upon him, then he will be punished verily in the grave and in the hereafter. So this is the explanation of the Jumhur Ahlul Ilm. So those people who do not, those people who do not make sure that their people will not do such a wailing upon them, these are the ones who are going to be punished. But if you did your best and you actually put that clearly to them, that I've got nothing to do with these people who are going to do such bid'ah, then Allah Azza will not punish you for that. Also, we have that hadith from An-Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu an, that when he had fell unconscious, when Abdullah ibn Rawaha had fell unconscious, his sister Amrah, she started crying, and she says, Wa Jabalah, he was a mountain, he was such and such, and she was counting his merits and his good things. So when he woken up from his death, pings, you could say his death, I would say stupors, he said, did you say something about me? Did you say this? She said, well, verily, it was when you said that, it was said to me while I was unconscious. It was said to me, are you like this? So he said, don't do this. So when he died, she did not cry upon him. Now, crying the normal way is no problem. Second, and the third issue, which is not allowed for the family of the deceased to do when the person dies, is that to basically tear off the clothes, and also the striking of the cheek. I've seen this one in my family a long time ago. When somebody dies, the woman that we should slap her face on both sides like that. So darb al-khudud, we call it, striking the cheeks and the face, and also tearing of the clothes. This is not from the Islam. Some of it as well, which is not allowed, they shave the hair. So shaving the hair is not allowed. For verily, Prophet ﷺ, he said, I have got nothing to do with this who is wailing, and as well the one who tears the clothes off, and also the one who shaves. So people who shave and people who raise up the voice in wailing, and those people who are tearing the clothes because of the death, I got nothing to do with them. Also from those things which are from the bad habits when the person dies, the women usually pull their hairs as well. That takes place as well. And the Prophet of Allah, he had admonished regarding this, and he said it's not allowed. And also some of the men who do not really let go of their beards, and they always shave their beards, what they do, they let go of their beards when there is a tragedy of the death of someone of their family. Subhanallah. So the beard now, it became a sign of grief and sorrow instead of becoming a sign of what? Of holding onto the sunnah. So basically letting go of the beard and showing that this is a sign of grief and sorrow. This is all of it from the bid'ah. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Also from the death bid'ah done by the relatives of the deceased is that when they start calling his name onto the pulpits, such and such person, he had died, such and such person, because this is from the na'i, which is conveying the news of his death, which is not permissible. And we're going to talk about the na'i in a minute. So Prophet Allah said, when somebody dies, do not really start doing this. And some of the people now, they boast about it. And that's what takes us about as well to the how to convey the death of the person. These days in our country, we boast about it. And who is the winner is all the time these media. So if somebody dies, they start putting his name in the newspaper, and the more space you take, the more money you're going to pay. And I'm talking about not 100, 200, thousands of pounds. Okay, so if you take one page of the whole newspaper, you're going to be paying about £5,000. Maybe 10,000. Half of the page, 5,000. Quarter of the page, one. So what is that money going for? Nothing. It's all of it to boast because these people got money, so they put this name really big and they might take even 2 pages of that. So we have in our newspapers, the tabloids in our country, something called the Safhatul Wafiyat, the page of the names that lists the names of the people who died. Okay, Muslims and non-Muslims. We don't have them in our newspapers here, but in our country we have Safhatul Wafiyat. So every person will guide the newspaper to see who died, who did not die. Okay, and those people who are rich, they will allocate for themselves a big space in the newspaper because they're posting about their deceased. Okay, so it's all of that is not allowed. So how do we make the process of conveying the news of the death? First of all, let's just see what the hadith regarding the Prophet ﷺ in terms of that. Prophet of Allah, when he had Najashi, the king of Abyssinia, Ashama, he died and he buried. It was in a Christian way, but he was a Muslim. The Prophet of Allah was told to be a Muslim by the revelation. So the Prophet ﷺ, what he had done to convey the death of Najashi, he just went to the Musalla of his janaiz and he lined the people. There's nobody there, and he said, "Verily, we're going to offer a prayer upon your brother." So he's in Najashi. So he lined up the people. So that it was actually inside the Musalla, the place where they offer the prayer. Also, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was talking about the incidents that taken place in the battle of Mu'tah, and the Prophet of Allah, he had lined up the army when he sent them were to be led by Zayd ibn Haritha, and then if Zayd dies, then takes over Ja'far, and if he dies, then Abdullah ibn Rawaha. So one after the other. So the Prophet of Allah, he was having live link up from the Almighty Azza wa Jal, what is taking place in the battle. So he said, verily, Zayd held the banner, the flag, and verily he was hit, that means he was killed. And Ja'far, he took it after him. And verily then after that, Abdullah ibn Rawaha, and all of them, they were killed. And the Prophet ﷺ were shedding tears. Okay. Then he said, Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu took it, and Allah Azza wa Jal had given him the victory, even though he was not appointed to be a leader by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this hadith and the other one is that shows us the way that we convey the news of the person, okay, how he had died. So basically shouting his name into the pulpits or putting his name for the sake of boasting in the newspapers, this is close to the Jahiliyyah at the time. Okay, when you convey the death of somebody, you're asking him to pass istighfar. So Prophet said, "Istaghfiru li akhikum," seek forgiveness for him. So you ask the people to seek forgiveness. And some people ask me, do we ask this, the people to seek forgiveness because the Prophet of Allah said so? Yes, we do. Here we have the hadith of Abu Qatada radiallahu anhu. He said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he sent the army to basically to Mu'tah, and he said Zayd ibn Harith is to be a leader. If he's to be killed, then Ja'far is to be killed, then Abdullah ibn Rawaha. Ja'far, he said, Messenger of Allah, I sacrificed my father and my mother for you. Messenger of Allah, I'm not going to be scared to make Zayd to be my leader. So he said, just leave him. For verily, maybe it's going to be good for you. So they went. So Ja'far, basically the cousin of the Prophet of Allah, he wanted to take the leadership, to be the first one to be a martyr in the sake of Allah. So they left. And the Prophet ﷺ, he ascended the pulpit. And then he called for their prayer to be called. But this is after he sent the army. In one day, he called the people and he said, As-salatu jami'a. Come to the prayer, come to the prayer. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, it's good. For verily, I'm going to tell you about what happened to the army. For verily, they left and they met the enemies. And Zayd, okay, he was struck. Okay, Zayd was struck. And that means he was hit and he was killed. And seek forgiveness for him. So the people sought forgiveness for him, the companions. Then the flag was taken by Ja'far radiallahu anhu. And he was killed. So seek forgiveness for him. So they sought forgiveness for him. And then the banner and the flag was taken by Abdullah ibn Rawaha. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirmed his feet until he died as well as a martyr. All of them martyrs. So seek forgiveness for him. Then the banner and the flag was taken by Khalid. And he was not appointed, but he had appointed himself. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he lifted up his fingers and he said, O Lord, he is a sword from your swords. O Lord, give him victory. From that moment, he was called Khalid Sayfullah. Khalid, the sword of Allah. So here, the Prophet ﷺ, he asked the companion to seek forgiveness for those who had died. So every time when there's a person who dies, seek forgiveness for him. We're coming now to the following chapter, and that is, what are the signs of a good death, a good ending? Husnul Khatima. Khatima is the end of yours. You come to die. There is signs to indicate this is a good ending. So the Sharia had actually given us some signs by which we could really indicate that this is a good end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given this by his blessings and his virtues. So any person who had taken one of these signs, so it's a glad tiding. And what a glad tiding. Number one, and that is to utter the shahada when you die. So the shahada to be the last words departing from your lips. Prophet ﷺ, he said, whom his words to be the last, La ilaha illallah, or whom last word is to be La ilaha illallah, he will enter paradise. And we have as well another hadith to support this, which is Talha ibn Ubaidillah radiallahu anhu, when he said, when Umar, Talha ibn Ubaidillah, for verily that Umar, he had seen Talha ibn Ubaidillah, and he was seeing just about to die. So he said, oh, what about you are a person, such a person. So maybe that your wife had, maybe did something wrong to you. So he said, no. And then he started talking about Abu Bakr. For verily I've heard the Prophet ﷺ had said to me a hadith, what prevented me not to ask him about it, except that I hadn't the chance for it until he died. I have heard him saying, for verily I know a word, not a single person would say it while he's dying, except that his light, his color will be shining, and Allah Azza wa Jal will ease his situation. He said, Umar, well, I know which word you're talking about. So he said, what is it? He said, it is the most upper word, that is the person says it, that is La ilaha illallah. Talha, he said, you are truthful, O Umar. So the first sign is La ilaha illallah on your lips. You could say La ilaha illallah and Muhammadur Rasulullah, no problem. But La ilaha illallah, if the deceased or before he died said something else, prompted to say La ilaha illallah. The second one, to die with a sweat on the forehead. For verily the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Mautul mu'min, verily the death of a person who is a believer is with his forehead in sweat. So your forehead is sweating. Also, to die in the night or the day of the Jummah. Prophet ﷺ, he said, any person dies on the day of the Jummah or the night of Jummah, Allah Azza wa Jal will save him from the grave punishment. And of course here, he will not save any person. He will save the one who is upon Tawheed, upon monotheism. He will save him the punishment of the grave. But just simply because he is basically, that he's a person that died on Jumu'ah, already the Prophet of Allah did not die on Jumu'ah. He died on Al-Ithnain. And we know that lots of, as well, companions who did not die in the Jumu'ah. Okay, but good sign to die in the Jumu'ah, and also the night of the Jumu'ah. That's the night preceding the Jumu'ah. Also to die as a shaheed in the battlefield. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given them number of merits. What are the merits of the shaheed? Prophet ﷺ, he said, he will have 6 merits. Number 1, his sins will be forgiven from the first gush of blood. Number 2, he will see his place in paradise while he's in the grave. Number 3, he will be saved from the punishment of the grave. Number 4, he will be saved from the moment of terrifying moment, al-faza'u al-akbar, when everybody comes out of the grave. He will be saved from that. وَيُحَلَّ حِلْيَةَ الْإِيمَانِ, and also will given and adorned with the clothes of Iman. And also he will be given to the glad, he will given the Virgin of Paradise as well, to as a wife, as a spouse, and he will be given the go-ahead to intercede for 70 of his relatives. And also there is another one, which is mentioned in another hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that there will be the crown of waqar, crown of respect, crown of honor, I should say, al-yaquta, the pearls, something which is like precious. And this is the pearls of this crown. One of it is better than the whole dunya and what is in it. So he will be have the crown on top of him, and the crown is made of pearls. In each pearl of it is better than the whole dunya and what is in it. So this is another sign from the people who are as well. That is the Prophet ﷺ, he said that when he was asked by a man, why is it that the martyrs that will be exempted from the trials of the graves? So the Prophet ﷺ said, it's enough for them to have the swords on top of their heads when they were alive. So they had all this fitna and these trials when they were alive. So that's why they will be secured against the fitna and the trials in the grave. Now, you see, this martyrdom for the person who dies in the battlefield. But if any person also had asked to be a martyr, because these days we don't have jihad. We don't have an Islamic state that making jihad against the enemies of Allah. But if you have sincerely asked for jihad, you made jihad to your nafs and you are upon the straight path, mashallah. And you are saying to yourself, if there is a door and a gate that will lead me to the proper jihad, I will go and fight and sacrifice myself. When you ask Allah Azza wa Jal for that shahada, sincerely, then Allah Azza wa Jal will make you to reach the rank of these martyrs, even though to die on your bed. So if you die on your bed, but yet you had sincere wish to be a martyr, Allah will give you the same merits that those people will get. Okay, the same merits. Some of them will be excluded for the people who are martyrs. But if you are sincerely, because you want to make to be a shaheed, but there is no gate for you to make jihad and become a shaheed. The 5th good sign or a good end is a person dies while he is fighting the sake of Allah. So the shaheed, the martyr, or to die while you're fighting. Even if you are a person, for example, let's say you fought in the sake of Allah, okay? So you are going to be as well one of those good endings. Prophet of Allah, he said, مَا تَعُدُونَ الشَّهِيدَ فِيكُمْ, what do you consider the martyr for you? He said, Messenger of Allah, the one who dies in the sake of Allah, he's a shaheed. He said, then when the shaheed of my ummah, they are to be little, they're few. He who dies in the sabil of Allah. So if you die in anything to do with the cause of Allah, so let's say, for example, you are traveling to Pakistan to help the people who are in flood. You're traveling to another area to help a person for the sake of Allah. If you did that for the sake of Allah and you died, you will be considered to be like a shaheed, dying like in the battlefield. And also, but remember, when we say that you got the merits of the shaheed like this, you will not get, for example, the same as the shaheed in terms of washing. The shaheed will not be washed. You will be washed. And in terms of shrouding, the shaheed, could be shrouded and could be as well buried without shrouding, but you have to be shrouded. So all of this is only for the shaheed. Okay, and also their blood will exude fragrance on the dead is only for the shaheed of the battle. So those are in the rank of a shaheed, but they're not exactly like the shaheed. Also, we find that the person who dies in ta'un, the plague. Any person dies the plague, and the plague, as I said, is different from the pandemic. Every plague is a pandemic, but not every pandemic is a plague. The plague is the one that gives you, and this is a difference among the scholars. You'll find, for example, some of the scholars consider, for example, COVID-19 to be a plague. which I follow the scholars who said no, it is not, because the plague's got some description for it, and the plague does not enter Medina, and the COVID-19 had entered the Medina, and lots of people died from it as well, or a number of people, I should say. So the plague is a shahada, and the Prophet of Allah said, "At-ta'un fi ummati shahada." The ta'un in my ummah is to be martyrdom. Also, from the good signs is the person who dies with something to do with his stomach. So he who dies through his stomach is a shaheed, and we have a hadith regarding this. And also from the signs of good signs of ending, that is to die drowning, or to die with a fence falling onto you, something like a fence or a building. Okay, so it's like something that destroyed on top of you. You're going to be like an earthquake as well. Also, a woman dying through her postnatal bleeding because of her child. So she had given the child, and yet she died. Okay, while she was delivering the baby. For the Prophet ﷺ, he said that her baby will pull her from her belly cord, and that is to Jannah. So this is as well a good sign. And also from the good sign is to die burnt, in burning, and also to die through that al-jamb. Now that al-jamb, maybe I can't really know what is the meaning of it. This is something that like a swollen thing, hot. Inshallah, I will get the maybe it's plebiscite or something like this. Allahu a'lam. Right. This is a hadith regarding this, which is that al-jamb and dying through burning. From the good signs as well is that to die with a TB, and that is the lungs disease. And from the good signs as well, that is to die with a person dying as a guarding a land which has been just gained from the enemies of Allah. So if you have, for example, made jihad and you took that land and you are guarding that land, so called murabit. If you die as well, that's a good ending. And finally, from the good ending as well, to die upon a good deed. This is what the book had said, but I have added as well from the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, from a good ending, I've added that the person who dies because he's been killed by a tyrant leader. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the master of shuhada, the best and the most eminent of shuhada is, according to Allah, in the sight of Allah, is Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib. And then he said, a man who stood for the Imam, who's a tyrant, and he told him off. He went to the Imam, the leader, told him off, you're doing wrong. So, and he told him off not to do this. So the Imam or the Khalifa or the President had killed him. So it's as well from the good ending. Also from the good ending as well, that is the people's praising the deceased. If somebody died and some people said, what a good person he is, what a good person he is, and these people are for verily the pious people, then we are the witnesses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth, where the angels are the witnesses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heavens. So by this, alhamdulillah, we have finished the good signs. And let me as well say this following hadith, which is important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he wants good to you, he will use you in the best of way, and he will purify you. And he said, As-salah, he will give you the honey. Or he will inspire him to do good acts just before he dies, until he's pleased with him, and until the ones who are as well around him will be pleased with him, and then he will be taken away. So if Allah intends good to you, he will make you to and inspire you to do good deeds just before you die, so that the people around you will love you for that and will be satisfied. And then Allah will make you to die. So the people will be started to praise you because of that act that you were inspired to do. And this is Allah, if he wants good to you, Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, by which, alhamdulillah, we finished the things which is to do with the good signings. Now there's a chapter here that the praise of the people onto the deceased. For verily, there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where a janazah passed by the Prophet of Allah, and the companion, they said, what a good person he was, what a good person he was. So the Prophet ﷺ said, wajabat, wajabat, wajabat. He deserves it, he deserves it, he deserves it. Then another janazah passed by, and the companion said, what a bad, evil person he was. And what a bad person he was in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. So the Prophet said, wajabat, wajabat, wajabat. He deserves it, he deserves it, he deserves it. Umar al-Khattab said, Messenger of Allah, I sacrificed my father and my mother for you. You know, you have 2 janazah pass, and he said the same thing regarding him. You deserve it, he deserves it, he deserves it. So the Prophet he said, for Ibali, the one you have praised, that means said something good about him, he deserves to go to paradise. And he whom you have criticized, for verily he deserves the hellfire. The angels are the witnesses of Allah in the heavens, and you are the witnesses of Allah on earth. So we are the witnesses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. We are the believers, the witnesses of Allah, the Almighty Azza wa Jal. For verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has angels that would speak on the tongues of the son of Adam in regarding of the good and the bad that is in the people. So when you say, what a good person, what a good person, it's like an angel will be speaking on your tongue to say, as a believer you are, that this person who had died, that is good. And also when you say something bad about somebody who had died, it's like an angel. Allah Azza wa Jalla will have an angel. He will speak on your tongue regarding that person, and that is indicating how evil he was. So also the Prophet ﷺ, he said, any Muslim whom 4 people had testified for him that he is good, Allah will make him to enter paradise. Now those 4 people has to be righteous people. So he said, Messenger, what about 3? He said, even 3. So what about 2? He said, even 2. We did not ask him about the 1. Okay. So basically, if you are a person who is a righteous person, you heard somebody who died and he's a good person, your tongue will help for him to go to paradise when you say good things about him. You're coming to the prayer as well to offer it on him that will help him to go to paradise. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said 3 and even 2, as long as they are good people whom they will witness that he is a good person, that will take him to paradise. Right. Now, any person who dies in an event like an earthquake or a sun eclipse or does not indicate anything. Probably the son of the Prophet of Allah, Ibrahim, he had died when the sun had eclipsed, or the eclipse of the sun. Now, the eclipse of the sun at that time, there was something like to do with people that think it's like jinn or something like something is going to happen to the earth. Until today, that they find that the eclipse, some of them, they attach it and link it to something which is hocus pocus, basically. So the time of the Prophet of Allah, at the time of Jahiliyyah, people, they think that if somebody had to die at the time, then he must be a famous man. He must be a god. Or a person to die at that time, the same thing, both birth or death. So that's when the Prophet of Allah's son, he had died. The sun eclipse took place. So the Prophet ﷺ ascended the pulpit, and he had gathered the people and he gave them the khutbah. And then he said, after he prayed the eclipse prayer, and he said to them, verily, the sun does not eclipse for the death or the birth of someone. For verily they are from the signs of the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sun and the moon. They will not have the eclipse, the sun or the moon, and they are the signs of Allah. They're not the signs of the death of someone important or the birth of someone who is important. But Allah scares His people with it. So if you see something like this, you go straight away to the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal and supplicate to Him, seek His istighfar, and also to give sadaqah, and also to free slaves, and also to pray in the masajid until the sun had appeared again. So this partial eclipse or the full eclipse, when you see it, you don't rush and run towards the microscopes and telescopes and all of that like these people they do to see this phenomena, but actually rush to the prayer, dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, to give the sadaqah, for verily until the sun is clear and back again. I say that if the Prophet of Allah was a false prophet, definitely he would have used that occasion to say, look, I'm a prophet. This sun has the eclipse because of the death of my son. But he did not say that. He said the contrary. That to show that he's a prophet. Because the false prophet, he would use such an occasion to say, you see, look, the eclipse took place because of the death of my son. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, inshallah, we leave, inshallah, the washing of the deceased with practical as well demonstration for next time, and that is in 2 weeks' time. We will talk about how to wash the deceased, how to shroud him. We'll show, basically we'll talk about it, and as well, we might make a demonstration as well with it, inshallah. So we'll give you more time now for the questions and the answers. We got about, I would say, half an hour, bi'idhnillah, for questions. So please line up the question, yeah, Ahmed, and start. Jazakallah khair.
Wajazak Sheikhi. Can I just check with you, because the schedule says Woolwich. Is there a priority for Woolwich today, or what is this situation, Sheikh?
Any Woolwich people, they have to put their name with Woolwich, or to write them Woolwich. You change your name now to put Woolwich. Okay, or Anwar. Is Anwar there, please? Anwar, can he put his hands up?
Anwar, if you're there, could you please raise your hand for us, and we will let you speak.
Let me just put him, because I've just seen him before, but he was not really. Yeah, Anwar, I'm gonna unmute you. Assalamu alaikum, Anwar. He's not letting me to unmute him. Anwar, assalamu alaikum. Do you know? We're asking you. Do you know anybody from your county, from your country, I should say, from your village?
Yes, I think some people in it. Yeah,
your internet is very bad, or my internet is very bad. I don't know which one is very bad, but yours is very bad. I can't hear you.
I think the Woolish one is very bad.
Right.
Always.
Okay. Do you know anybody there? Because we can't see anybody there who is from Woolwich raising up his hands.
Okay. I text them everyone. I don't know if they are in or not. Normally, the wood is always in. I don't know if it's in today.
Okay, you could come in whenever you like. I'm gonna now make you one of the co-hosts, so you could really as well tell us if you see some of your people.
Yes.
Your co-host. So please, can you now mute yourself, because you are able to mute and unmute yourself by yourself. Okay. Zaka Habibi. Fadal ya Ahmed.
Okay, if we can go to Brother Mohammed, please. I'm unmuting you.
Barakallahu fiqh, ya Sheikh. In West Africa, there is a tradition that when someone dies, after 40 days, they have a gathering where they make dua for the deceased and they recite surahs of the Quran, particularly with Surah Yasin. I just wanted your advice on this. For example, was this something that was practiced back in Jahiliyyah, or it's some form of innovation? Just some clarity on the 40 days.
Before you go, do they as well do every Eid for the deceased, the first Eid for him?
Not that I'm aware of from the two West African countries. But
okay.
Yes.
Another question: do they as well, the people of the deceased, they are the ones who provide food to the people instead of the vice versa?
That's correct. Yes, lots of food.
And so they make food to the people instead of the people making food for them?
They make food for the people.
First and second and third day.
It's usually about first, third, seventh.
First,
third, seventh, and 14th.
All right. We're gonna lump all of that together. We say all these acts that you have just listed, and I've added as well, which is to make food for the people who are coming. If these people are my relatives, they're going to come into my house and I'm making the food in my house, yes, but I'm talking about this massive food that is being given to the people who come just to visit. And this will cost money. I'm talking about what, 2,000, 3,000 pounds a meal, because you're making it for 200, 300 people in our countries. And this is to boast. And this is basically the money is being taken from the orphans or from the inheritors' money. Because they're going to, instead of inheriting money from their fathers, they're actually incurring debt to borrow. All of that from the extravagance, from the bid'ah, okay, and from the devouring of the wealth with no due right. أكل أموال الناس بالباطل. Okay. First day, second day, and third day, and it's supposed to be all of those food given from the people to the deceased family. As for the seventh and the first, and this is another bid'ah to specify the first and the seventh, and like you said, the third and the first and the seventh. I don't have that knowledge about that, a new bid'ah. But also the 40 days. The 40 days we do have it in our country. After 40 days, well, alhamdulillah, started to be abolished because of the knowledge. So the 40 days as well, they revive the grief and the sorrow. Not only that, the first Eid, after the death of that person, people, instead of enjoying that Eid with their families, the son will go and visit other families and they will leave the kids. That's a bid'ah number one, to specify that day to visit even the outside relatives. And then some of them, they will specify that day to go and visit those people who had their deceased died on that year. So the first Eid, you say the Eid of the Mayyit, the Eid of the deceased. So those deceased family, they will hire a hall in order to receive the ones who are gonna say to them condolences again after God knows about 7-8 months. It depends. Let's say just he died after Eid al-Adha. So the Eid al-Fitr, which comes about 8 months afterwards, Eid al-Fitr, after Ramadan, that will be the first Eid for him. So after Eid al-Fitr, in Eid al-Fitr, the first, they will hire the whole, the first and second and third day. So the people will come and they come and just shake their hands and come inside and sip some coffee, the Arabian coffee, and then come out and chit chat and all of that. What is this? Again, money being taken from without due right. Again, it's a bid'ah. Again, this is basically taken from the money of the people who are inheritors. Again, this is indulging into dunya. And again, it is reviving the sorrow and the grief instead of forgetting about it. So all of that is not from the Sunnah, Allah Ta'ala. Jazakallah khair. That lumps a lot of questions in it. Now,
Sheikh, I don't know if you want this now, but our brother from Luton, Abu Turab, he's sent a note here from the Sheikh Muhammad Jibali, may Allah preserve him, about the Dhatul Jamb. He's put some English here. It's inflammation of the pleura. The Sheikh has written that there.
inflammation of the
Pleura. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. The fin.
well, pleura. I've got it here. I've never been able to pronounce it because I made a research myself into the word meaning. Okay, let me just look at it. But anyway, a pleura. If anybody who's medical in there, explain to us what is that pleura. I know it in Arabic. Okay, hang on a second. Here it is. The word is plevtisy. Plebiscity. I don't know. Allah. Now, fadal.
Jazakallah khair. We'll go to brother Muhammad Suhaib, please. You're unmuted, Muhammad.
Jazakallah khairan. Sheikh, assalamu alaikum. I wanted to ask you, Sheikh, you know, like you get these kids nowadays who fight and they get stabbed and they die, and then you'll hear brothers say, you know what, the brother shaheed, mashallah. Is that correct?
Nobody can say about anybody that he is a shaheed, except if it is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So even if he dies in a battlefield, that is with an army, Muslim army, fighting against the disbelievers, and in that battle we've seen him being killed, I cannot say he's a shaheed. We say we hope for him martyrdom. But to stamp him as a shaheed, we don't know his intention is inside. We don't know. He could have been one of those people who will be the first people to be ignited in the fire. Prophet said the first 3 categories of people who will be ignited, he will be where the fire will be set ablaze with. The first people. They're not non-Muslim, they're Muslims. 3 categories. One of them is the one who died as a shaheed. He will be brought. Okay? And Allah will ask him, and ask the one who's like him, what did you do for what I've given you from the prosperity and all of that? You've given you everything. He said, oh Lord, I've been fighting for your sake, and I died as I was a martyr in your sake. Allah would say, you are the liar. And remember, the only one who could say he's a liar is the Almighty. And the only one who knows, apart from him, who is a liar is only the Almighty. The angels, they don't know the one who writes the deeds. Because for them, the one who writes the deed, the action, they can't know what is in the heart. They don't know what's your intention. So they will write, oh yeah, he done jihad. He died as a martyr. So he's being recorded as a martyr. But Allah knows what his intention. He said, you're a liar. So the angel will confirm, yes, you're a liar. Allah said, you're a liar. You're a liar. Then Allah would say that you've done that in order to be called a shaheed, or what a hero. And you were called. So you had your reward in the dunya. People called you shaheed and people called you hero, batal. So you had your reward for that. There will be nothing for him. This and another 2, the category, the other 2 is the one who is the scholar, whom is the person who will be asked the same thing. And he will say, oh Lord, I have been teaching your sake, teaching Quran and all of that. He said, you're a liar. You've been saying that, doing this for the sake of to be called a scholar. And you've been called a scholar. You took your reward in the dunya. And the third person, who is the, we said the shaheed and the scholar, and remind me, Ahmad, my brain is just stopped now, subhanAllah. The shaheed and the scholar, the mujahid, and
Shaheed and the scholar and the one who gave wealth.
And the one who started to give the charity. Jazakallah khair. So the one who gave wealth, he will be asked as well the same question. Why did you give the wealth? He said that I want to, give charity for your sake. He said, Allah, provided you've done that, to be called what a generous person you are. And he was called. You were said you were Kareem Jawad. Those people will be dragged, will be put into the hellfire. The first three categories of people will be set ablaze in the fire. So, not to talk about a person who's being stabbed. We don't know. It's not even in a battle. How can we call him a shaheed? Okay. So if he's being stabbed, he could be a drugger. I don't know, drug addict, drug dealer. I don't know what he is. So, but we sympathize with the family of his, and we ask Allah. And if he's a believer as well, we will offer the prayer upon him. Okay. So remember, if he's a good man, the good people say, what a good man he was. But if he's a bad man, he's a drug, whatever, then the only people we're going to say is good is the drug dealers like him. Oh, he was a very good person. Smuggling very well. Allah al-Musta'an. Now.
Can we go to Brother Michael in Woolwich, please?
Hello?
I can't hear you, ya akhi.
Assalamu alaikum.
You're too far from the microphone, about 100 miles, ya akhi. We can't hear you. Get close to the microphone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Now we could hear you properly. You're blasting my ears. Go ahead.
Yes, okay. Sheikh, we understand that we cannot inherit from non-Muslim relatives, yeah?
Oh, it's Michael. How are you, Mikhail?
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Sheikh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. I didn't know that you are Mikhail. Go ahead.
Yes, we understand we cannot inherit from our non-Muslim relatives, yeah? But if the will was written before somebody converts to Islam, does it change the ruling?
If the will was changed before
was written before a person converts to Islam. If, for example, your parents wrote a will before you became a Muslim, and you're part of the person who is to inherit something, yeah,
so,
and they die.
Let me understand. So the parents are Muslims, and the son is not a Muslim.
No, the parents are not Muslim. The parents are non-Muslims. Non-Muslims.
So the parents are non-Muslim, and the son is a Muslim. Okay, so the parents written a will. Okay.
Yes.
And
the parents have written a will, but
they died as
non-Muslims. Yes.
Because you said they died before they become Muslim. It was confusing. Now go ahead.
No. I mean, the son became Muslim after they passed away.
So the person had become a Muslim straight away after did they write a will for him?
They wrote the will was written years before he became a Muslim.
Yeah, but I mean, when they wrote the will, they were not Muslim. All of them, the son and the family. Yes.
All of them were all Christians.
Why was he to write a will? By the way, because by the law he will inherit. Was he giving him more or less?
No. The parents. A will has been written, yeah, by the parents. A will was written, yeah, but the will was not given out. And by the time the will was given out, he converted to Islam then.
It doesn't make a difference because it's a will. If he writes a will, that's it. But I just said, if he did not write a will, what is the government law regarding giving the son? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, the government law will follow the normal procedures of the son will inherit, yeah, but what about Islamic, the Sharia? Because I understand that you cannot inherit from your non-Muslim relatives.
Yes, but if he wrote a will, khalas, alhamdulillah. But I just wanted to ask, if they did not write a will, he will inherit if he was a non-Muslim, correct?
Yes, he would.
Okay. So when they died, he was not a Muslim, yes?
He was not a Muslim.
He will inherit in both ways, whether he written a will or did not write a will. He will inherit because he was not a Muslim. But by the time you're saying that the execution of this will, he became a Muslim. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay, so
that's correct.
It doesn't make a difference at the time now. It doesn't. Khalas, when the death taking place, okay, that's when we say, is he a Muslim or not a Muslim? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now he became a Muslim after. So he became a Muslim before the execution of this will. Now,
that's correct.
regardless, listen to me now. Regardless of, even if he became Muslim before he died, because they made a will, that will go to him. But if he did not make a will, that's the problem. But here in this case, there is no problem. Even did not write a will, because he was not a Muslim when they died. He will inherit from them.
Okay. Now that's in a case of when the will was written, yeah. But what if the will was verbally, it's made verbally, and everyone in the family has acknowledged it, yeah? Does it still inherit it, yeah?
You're talking about a specific case. I don't know. You're going really into tiny little details now. So basically, you are saying this will. Let me just tell you, this will, regardless what is being written or said, the will. Do you understand me? So whether this will is being said or written, it's a will. That's number one. Okay. Now, regardless of the will was written or not written, as long as when they died, he was the same religion as theirs, Christians, they will inherit. Regardless of, let's say, a year later they executed the will, but he became a Muslim. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference, because when they died, they were of the same religion. They will inherit. Okay.
Yes.
But now, because he wrote a will or he said the word verbally, it doesn't make a difference whether he died before or after. Whether he died before, whether they died before he became a Muslim or died after he became a Muslim. It doesn't make a difference, because they made a will. The will will be he will take it. Okay.
Okay.
That solves the question, inshallah.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Barakallah.
We go
and by the way, 40% of that will to me, inshallah.
Can we go to Brother Abu Jabir in Woolwich, please?
Well, the government take 40%. Why not me?
So, Sheikh, question, inshallah. Are you allowed to travel to the deceased family to do the condolence, like live, especially the females? Like, let's say if you're traveling from Woolwich to West London, is a female, let's say this female gathering, is that allowed, Sheikh? Barakallahu Feek.
Is this in COVID-19 or before COVID-19?
Before, Sheikh.
Okay. So you're asking about a sister traveling to give condolences, yes?
Naam, Sheikh.
If it's traveling, she needs a mahram. But I don't know what you're talking about, from Woolwich to where?
To West London, for example.
No, you are in London. If you are in London, you're not traveling. I don't say I'm traveling from East London to West London. You're in London.
Is she allowed to do it, Sheikh?
She's allowed to do it as in Sharia wise, but if is she allowed to do it in security wise? Is she safe? Huh?
They take a car, but sometimes
brother, I'm not going to go to is she safe or not. Khalas. If she's safe, she can go. She's safe. So I'm just saying, if she say that something happened to the car, okay, would she be raped by the RAC or something like the AA? They come. She's khalas. She's okay. She's safe.
Barakallahu Feek, Sheikh.
Jazakallah khair.
Questioner is asking, is death in Ramadan blessed?
There is no such thing that death in Ramadan will be a blessing. There's no such thing that the death of Ramadan is a blessing. The death in the Jumu'ah, the day or the night, that's the one which we call it good ending. But as I said, remember all these, if you've been burnt, and the same time you drowned, and the same time you died in TB, and the same you died in through your stomach, all of that combined in you, even died as a shaheed in the Ma'araka, that doesn't give you to paradise. Because we don't know what's in your intention, what's inside you. But we say we hope martyrdom for him. We hope. And that is why Sahih al-Bukhari had made Imam al-Bukhari, he made in his chapter, in his Sahih chapter, لا يقال عن فلان شهيد. We don't say about someone is to be a martyr. Now.
If there is anybody else from Woolwich who wishes to ask, come forward, we'll prioritize you because it's your class. In the meantime, we'll go to Nahyan in the queue, please.
جزاك الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله شيخ.
ورحمة الله وبركاته.
MashaAllah. Sheikh, I have two questions. Small ones, inshallah. First one is being death of a martyr. is their body preserved?
Okay, question number one. And by the way, Jazakallahu khairan. But you said short questions, but I don't guarantee a short answer. That's the problem.
Alhamdulillah.
So what's the question again?
So the body of a martyr, is their body preserved?
Is the body of the martyr preserved? We don't have a proof for that. There's no proof that the body of the martyr is preserved. Okay, we have the prophets' bodies is preserved. Prophets, yes, but the martyrs, we might find single men, single person. Like for example, Abdullah ibn Haram, the father of Jabir. He was preserved for 6 months. We don't know after that, but 6 months. He dug him after 6 months in Saudi Arabia, in the Arabian Peninsula. Nothing was changed from his body. If you leave a piece of meat for 6 hours, never mind 6 months, it will rot there because of the heat. But he was buried for 6 months, and he dug him out, and he was complete intact. And we do have a story which is authentic as well regarding some of the graves of these martyrs who died and they were buried in next to the masjid of Ash-Shajara, which is in Miqat al-Hulayfa. It's about 6 miles away from Medina. There we have documented sort of statement from somebody who's scholars, somebody who was knowledgeable, that when there was a stream of water because of flood of rain, lots of rain, and that filled up the valley. Wadi al-Aqiq is called, the valley of Aqiq. Actually had exposed some of the graves of those people who were martyrs from the companions, okay, in that place. And to reach them, you need a big, massive ladder to reach them from the from the end to the top. And some of them, they saw it with their own eyes that this person, he had full intact with a big long hair as well, long hair coming out from him. And that's what they said. They went to the mayor or the prince of the area, and the prince of the area straight away, he commanded for them to be buried and to be as well not to be shown where they are, because they will be taken as a tomb and shrine. Okay, this is the tawheed, mashallah. Because if people knew about this, they will take him as a god from there. They will make blessings on him.
Yes, true.
So they will cover them. So that, it will take place to some people. Now, second question.
Second question is, Sheikh, what was the hadith that which you mentioned about the plague and COVID-19? You said the time that we're in now, it's not a plague because a plague cannot enter Medina al-Munawwara.
Prophet he said, "At-ta'un la yadkhulu al-Madina." Ta'un, plague does not enter Medina. That's one of the proofs that it is not a plague. It is a pandemic. It's type of the cross things between the pandemic and the plague is that every plague is a pandemic in terms of the fast and the spreading. Spreads very fast. In terms of as well the death rate, well, the plague kills instantly, like the TB. Whereas the pandemic of the COVID-19, the ones who have been saved, much more than the one who had died. Okay, and the plague does not, distinguish between a young or an old. If you get it, you die. And it's the other as well, very strong reason to say it's not, is that they had a dispute, which the Prophet he said, there's a dispute taking place. One side, the martyrs and the normal people. He's saying, why, O Lord, that you have given martyrdom rank to those who died through the plague? So Allah said to them, look at the wounds of those who had died through the plague. If it is similar to the wounds of those who have been participating in the battle, then they are shaheed. They looked, and it was the same. So the plague wounds is like stabs. It comes into the areas like under the arms, where the skin is thin, between the legs or the testicles. These areas. That's where it comes like a swollen thing, and it will create like a wound, which is like a stab of a spear or a shotgun. You understand me? So that's why they are being given the martyrdom. And as I said, this is a difference among the scholars. Is this COVID-19 is martyrdom or not? But we say any person who dies through patience and accepting the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal, he had had a good ending. But to make them like the shaheed of the ta'un, no. Ta'un is, Prophet said, at-ta'un shahada. At that time, there was lots of diseases that, which is not ta'un. There was people dying from fever. People dying from things that they don't know about. People dying from the deadly jump. The one that can't really know the translation of it.
Yeah.
But, okay, Prophet given the shahada for this ta'un, at-ta'un fi ummati shahada. Wakhz. And he said it is like a poking from the jinn enemies to you. But we cannot expel the jinns of the enemies or the enemies of the jinn by making adhan like these people. They make adhan on top of the. Adhan is to be at the time of the prayer, but not adhan like this. Allahul Musta'an. Right. Another question?
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. May Allah reward, inshallah.
Question is asking that if they couldn't go to pray the janazah for somebody, can they pray alone in their house for them?
If somebody prayed the janazah on the person, regardless of whom, then khalas, it suffices. It's called communal obligation, fard kifaya. So somebody had offered the prayer on that janazah. No, you're not allowed to offer janazah at home. But if nobody he's been buried without, okay, a janazah prayer, a funeral prayer, then we say you go to the grave and you offer the prayer there in the grave. Make the grave between you and the qibla and offer the prayer, you and whoever you want to pray with. But to offer the prayer in the home, or to do like these people, they make it a specific day at a specific time. All together, let's pray on the unknown person who had died through the COVID-19. Unknown died person through the COVID. We can't do that. Now,
if someone died during heart operation, is it a good sign?
No, it's not one of the good signs that he mentioned. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him. Now,
Ameen. What is the ruling on gravestone sizes and details on some Turkish graves say recite Fatiha for their soul?
All of that from the bid'ah, the signs in the grave should be like normal headstone just to indicate where his head is and to make it easy for you to go and spot the grave of your relative. That's all. So if you had, for example, okay, I have the grave, for example, of my father. I could put it for you now. The grave of my father is simple between the graves, just for me and some relatives of my brothers and my sisters and my family. They will know what it is. I will try, inshallah, to upload it for you here to see how the grave of my father and the graves of those people are supposed to be like that. Now.
Okay, somebody's asking, when are the angels of question? If they're not buried for 2 days, he's asking, when are the angels going to question them?
Don't worry about that. The question will take place. This is ghaib, ya akhwani. Don't get involved into it when they're going to be questioned. Well, let's say he just died into pieces. He's been burnt into scattered. So you're going to ask the same question. How is he going to be questioned? He will be questioned. This is ilmul ghaib. Allahu a'lam.
Okay. Should we continue, Shaykhana?
Faddal.
The person is asking, what is the best thing to do for the father that has passed away?
What should the person do for the father who passed away?
For their father who passed away, yeah.
Any good deed that you do, it will be duplicate reward for you and for him, because you are the product of your father's factory. It's like our product. After Allah's creation, he had produced you. So whatever you do from the good deeds, it will be transferred to him. You don't have to allocate something to him. So the best thing is to do is what the Prophet said, du'a'u waladin salih. A righteous son or a daughter, she's asking for dua, making dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, to their parents. And how much time do you spend and give to your parents? Is it you, for example, you sit and you say, oh, my father, let me give dua to him. Or it's just like you remember actually your food and your desires more than you remember your father. Allah knows. Naam.
Right, just to clarify, I know you have asked a lot of questions. I have been prioritizing the topic, okay? And we will save your questions if they don't get answered. Inshallah, we'll get round to it. Can we please have Abu Yazid? Go ahead, Abu Yazid. Mic is yours.
Barakallahu feek. I've got 2 questions, please. First one is regarding the extraction of the soul. Does it make an audible sound, and are the people near the deceased, can they hear it, like the soul extraction?
When the person dies, again, sorry, I was focusing upon where to get the, I can't get it now.
Yeah, when the person dies, is there a rattle in the throat when the soul comes out? And is it audible to the people that are surrounding the deceased?
No, it is not. We might find here nothing. If we had a shouting or crying or something like this, it's to do with the person himself. But nothing to do with that, the rattling of the sound. No. Al-gharghara, no, it's not. It could be partial of a second, you don't see it. A person, that's it. Nah. But his eye will turn over.
Yeah. The second question is regarding after you've buried the deceased. Nowadays, the imams, they raise their hands and make dua, and everybody raises their hands and says Ameen behind the imam. Is that allowed?
Second question, Ikhwani, can we just ask just one question, please? Because other people are asking. So can I just delay the question of yours? I made an exception of other people, please. But it's not allowed to make this dua, which is into together. So the people, as person one dua, and everybody says behind him, Ameen, Ameen. Everybody's making his own individual dua, inshallah. That's the best thing. But if the imam, he made a reminder to the people, and in his reminder at the end, he made a dua, that's no problem to say Ameen on his dua. But just to specify a dua session, no. Please, can you, Ahmed, just emphasize there's only one question. Jazakallah khair, Habib.
One question, please, guys. I think, Anwar, you want to speak? You've unmuted yourself?
Yes, Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum.
There is someone who's, is in the media, is from the Middle East. He says someone, like Einstein, the Einstein is the Jewish scientific, he died a long time ago. He say, Allah yarhama, and he call him his akhi, is my brother. Is that allowed in Islam? هل من لم يكفر الكافر يكفر؟
ايش السؤال بالنسبه لاينشتاين؟ ما فهمته بالعربي.
يعني هل من لم يكفر الكافر يكفر؟
لا انت ايش سؤالك؟ خليني عن اينشتاين، ايش سؤالك؟ فهمني.
السؤال الشخص هذا يترحم على اينشتاين، الله يرحمه.
بس. So is it Einstein or not Einstein? The question is, am I allowed to pass mercy upon somebody who died upon non-Islam? That's the question. So am I allowed? Okay, we are not allowed to say upon a person who died upon non-Islam, may Allah have mercy upon him. Because the mercy of Allah only to the ones who died believing in Allah Azza wa Jal in the way that he had showed it through his prophets. Those who died in contradiction to the teachings of the prophets, whether it's Isa alayhi salam or Musa alayhi salam, and the last and the final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and those who had lived until today, they have to believe in the prophet of Allah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be the last of the prophets. Any person died not believing in that, we should not give the mercy. We should not say may Allah have mercy upon him or may Allah forgive his sins, because Allah made it haram upon those people to enter paradise. They will not enter paradise. They might be differing in terms of fire, the shallow fire or deep fire, okay, but not into. So, but if a person said about such a person that may Allah have mercy upon him, it does not mean automatically he's a disbeliever. We are not takfiri, Ikhwani, here. So if a Muslim said, may Allah have mercy upon, let's say, Einstein, okay, it doesn't make him a disbeliever. Because this person, he's not basically, we have to make sure, it is a kufr saying, but it's not, he's not kafir. It's not correct to say that, but to make him as a kafir. So we have to differentiate between two things, saying the kufr and the kafir himself. These two things are different. Not every person who falls into the kufr will fall onto him. Listen to me. Not every person falls into the kufr falls onto him. That means a kafir. No. Otherwise, Mu'adh ibn Jabal was a kafir because he prostrated to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He made prostration for him. We did not say to him he's a kafir. He said to him, why are you doing this? Messenger of, I've seen them in Bilad al-Sham, they making prostration to respect their people who are in charge, and I find nobody deserves to be prostrated to more than you. So he said, no, prostration is only for Allah, and if I want to command anybody to prostrate to anybody, I would have commanded the wife to prostrate to her husband, but the prostration is only to the Almighty Azza wa Jal. So we have to be careful in passing takfir and statement on other people. We say to the people, it's not allowed. Okay? Can we ask them for hidayah when they're alive? Of course. If they are alive, that's it. We strive hard to make them onto Islam, and we make dua, may Allah guide them. That's what Abu Hurairah, he did to his mother. That's why these Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he did to his mother. All of those, they were asking for Allah for them for guidance, and they sought help from the Prophet of Allah to make dua for them. Even the Prophet ﷺ, he never gave up onto his uncle to the last moment. Even after the last moment, he sought forgiveness. Then Allah he said, no, you should not seek forgiveness for them. إن تستغفر لهم أو لا تستغفر إن تغفر لهم 70 مرة فلا يغفر الله. Allah لا يغفر الله لهم. He will not forgive for them. Also, the Prophet said, huh?
Yeah, Sheikh, this person is preaching for that idea. It's not,
You're talking about individual case, and this is not the talk. This is not right in the question about this, Ya Ikhwani.
No.
You're talking about, you want to take a statement from my mouth regarding a person like this. This is supposed to be not in front of everybody. Because that person could be known to lots of people, and it's not good. Yeah, Sheikh Anwar, it's not good to ask publicly regarding a particular person, because that person is going to be known to the community, at the moment. So I would say these should be in, private sessions, not like this. Okay? Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek.
Mr. Orlando, Florida, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam to barakatuh.
Question is on Salat al-Duha. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Sheikh, in previous lectures, you said if we attend the congregational Fajr prayer, we wait in our place and then we pray 2 rak'ah after the sun has risen. According to the hadith, we will get the reward of Hajj and Umrah. But you also said it is better to pray Salat al-Duha when the sun is hot, close to the time of Dhuhr. The question is, Sheikh, can someone do both in the same day to maximize the rewards? Meaning he attends Fajr, or he can?
No problem to do that. So when we pray, by the way, Salat al-Duha is a difference among the scholars how many rak'ah it is. Some of them they say it's 4. Some of them say it's 8. Some of them they say 12. Some of them they say it has no limit. And this is the opinion of our Sheikh Mashhur. No limit. Salat al-Duha is open. Okay, and that's the correct opinion. There's no limit for that Salat al-Duha. But he who prays 12 rak'ah, he has got a palace in paradise. If you pray more, he's going to have more. So this is got no limit. So when the Prophet of Allah prayed 8 rak'ah when he had opened Mecca and regained Mecca, he only prayed 8 in the house of Hani, his cousin. It doesn't mean that it's 8. It is the limit, because he prayed and he said he prays 4, he prays 12. So it's got no limit, because there is no limit to limit that Salat al-Duha. So yes, you'll have more reward. You'll have Jannah and the reward of Hajj and Umrah.
So Sheikh, so just to clarify, even though there is a large gap, so after, let's say, after you had prayed the 2 after Fajr, you wait 4 or 5 hours until the sun becomes hot, and then you start to resume.
No.
That's what I'm asking, Sheikh.
No, it's not correct. You pray the 2 once the sun has risen. Then after that, you could offer other prayers close to the Dhuhr. Okay, so you finish that hadith, which is, because you're not supposed to sit until that time, akhi. You're supposed to do lots of things. You're supposed to be working. You're supposed to be. You understand me?
No. So that is the question. So so just clarify real quick, not to take too much of your time. You do pray the 2 after the sun has risen. You went to work. You went and take a nap for 4 hours, and then you wake up from your nap, or you come back from work at lunchtime. It's close to Dhuhr. Then you start to pray more, and you're saying that's okay.
That's why I answered at the beginning. So the Hajj and the Umrah, you've taken it for the 2 rak'ah after sunrise. Now you want to have another reward, which is the palace for praying 12. Yes, you do that close to the sunrise, close to the Dhuhr time.
Jazakallahu khaira, Sheikh.
Jazakallah khair.
Person is asking if you can make dua for their parents who has died in their salah.
Who died in their salah?
Yeah.
He's asking us to make dua for him?
Yeah,
we make dua for everybody and all the Muslims. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon them. Whether they died in salah or they died in a normal way. We ask for the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal to all people who died upon the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And we ask for those people who are not Muslim to have guidance and to embrace Islam and to look with an open eye regarding their deen, inshallah. So we make always dua. Naam.
Allahumma ameen. This person's asking a good question. Does a person that reverted to Islam, do they need to write a will so that they'll be buried according to Islam?
This person, Ahmed, sorry.
Okay, Sheikh, no problem. If he reverted to Islam, he became a Muslim.
Yes.
Does he need to write a will so that he will be
He
buried
must
at a
write a
Muslim?
will. If he reverted to Islam and his family is still not Muslim, he must not, or he needs to, he must write a will in order to be buried in a Muslim way, because you don't want his relatives to go and bury him in a non-Muslim cemetery. So if he knows that his will, which is written on his laptop or PC or is not good enough, he has to document this with a solicitor, so that the execution of his will be taking place properly. Otherwise, he will end up being buried in a non-Muslim grave, and he will be deprived from the salutation, the supplication of the people who are Muslim coming to the graveyard, and he will be buried in a land where there is punishment, of course. So basically, you must put that. And also, if it is not good enough, you have to go to the solicitor and make it official. Because I know for a fact, number of people who had died on Islam, and we had their piece of paper, whether it's been written by their own hand, which we had it, or the one was in his PC, saying to his family, look, he said he's Muslim and he wants to bury Muslim. We didn't have the power. That piece of paper hasn't got no power.
If a Muslim died, is the feet going towards the Kaaba or is the head? Thank you.
If the Muslim dies, when he be in the grave, to be put in the grave or outside? I don't understand the question.
Yes, Sheikh. When they're buried, he's asking, should their feet be towards the Kaaba or is it their head that is towards the Kaaba? And they're saying thank you.
None of that. None of that. So let's say, when we talk about, inshallah, burial, we'll explain a bit more as well with the hadith. Let's say that this is the Qibla. Okay? Right. So this is the right of the Qibla. This is the left of the Qibla. We don't bury the person with his head towards the Qibla like this. No. We bury him this way, with his head towards the Qibla. He is on the right of the Qibla. Now, how does he enter? He enters from the feet side. So we bring the deceased with his body, and let's say this is his head. Okay, and that's the grave now. So we'll bring him from the side of the feet of the grave. Okay, and then we'll put him inside from the feet, and the feet will go into the head side, and the feet will be on the feet side. So we'll enter him from the feet side. Now these days, they allow him, put him like this actually. But if we had the option, people will be inside and he will be entered like that. But if we did like this is to do with, because our graves are not on the Sunnah and they're becoming very tight. The Sunnah to have a spacious grave. These days, we can't have even one person inside the grave except for the grave itself. So it will be just exactly as the grave itself. Not even a single space for anybody to come inside, which is not from the Sunnah. Because the Prophet said, "Awsi'u a'miqu," make it deeper and make it as well wider, the grave. Naam.
When a person is dying, is it from the Sunnah to read Surah Yasin?
The question has been asked as well by the brother Muhammad from Gambia, and I forgot to talk about. Surah Yasin has got nothing to do with the death. I mean, if Yasin, Surah Yasin was to be complaining and to speak to us, you would have said to us, why do you specify me with death? Why do you recite me only when it is death? Okay, but it's not complaining to us. Basically, Surah Yasin has got nothing to do with the death at all. All the ahadith regarding Surah Yasin, either it is fabricated or very weak. Okay, so hadith Yasin, Qalb al-Quran and all of that, recite Iqra'u Yasin ala mawtakum, recite Surah Yasin on your deceased. Even the one which says Iqra'u Yasin ala mawtakum, recite Surah Yasin on the people who die, that is not, it means not after the death, before their death, before they die. Because after the death, it can't be listening to you. It doesn't help him. But anyway, all of the hadith is not authentic. Now,
they're asking if they saw a good dream of their parent. Is that a good sign? They've died.
Good sign it is, seeing a good dream. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it, inshallah, a good dream. But I don't know if it's a good dream or not a good dream. That depends upon what the person deems it to be a good dream. So a good dream, that you see a person, your father, for example, in Jannah, you see him, for example, giving sadaqah, you see him, for example, with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's a good dream. Now, and last, because we're going to finish exactly by 6 o'clock. Fadal.
Okay, if a couple, they want to get remarried because they had a divorce, when they get remarried, do they need a wali, and do they need 2 witnesses?
When the couple get married, they have to have the wali, but it doesn't mean to have the wali, it has to be present. The wali consent is to be present. And 2 witnesses, they have to be as well. The presence of them is just to be witnessing the marriage. Is that the question?
Sheikh, they're saying that this is the second time they're getting married again, and they're asking, do the conditions still apply like the first time? They need a wali and 2 witnesses.
Even if they marry 100 times, it's a new marriage, they have to have the same conditions.
Jazakumullah khair. Before you end, Sheikh, I just remind everybody, I will save your questions that were left over. There's a lot of questions, and we tried to do the topic first, okay? Priority was for the topic. Jazakumullah.
سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا.